Spread your wings and fly, go!
Yo, what's going on YouTube? This your boy Kamen Zero Spike, back again once again. And today, people, today we are for Zenkaiger episode 36. Now, if you're new and you're surprised, yeah, my old channel got taken down, so the other 35 of these videos are back on my old channel, and they're gone now. So we are starting with episode 36. I'm sorry, It's YouTube's being an a-hole right now, but anyway, let's get to the episode review. So, in this episode, we are, still going by everything that happened in episode 35 when Kaito found out that Heikaiser was his dad, being controlled by his dad and stuff like that. So we see Bokuwas actually finds out about Bokuwas and Gigi actually finds out about everything. They find out about everything, and they actually find out that Ichidu is kind of a fraud, and all the technology, majority of the technology and all the stuff that they have is from Kaito's parents, the two scientists, and then Bokuwas is actually okay with it. Bokuwas is like, "Hey, you did a good job. That's cool." I'm like, "What?" I was like, "This dude is a fraud." He's like, "So what?" And they basically end up taking what Ichidu basically says that he ends up taking Heikaiser and making him more brainwashed and kind of making him upgrading him to make the brainwashing more effective. And yeah, so throughout this episode we actually see that our Toji Tendo monster is called I thought it was called Surprise World, but it's actually called Jack in the Box. Well, it was Surprise World at first, and then he transforms and he's called Jack in the Box World. Now, we all know that the gears that the Toji Tendo be using are different worlds. I could not live in a world called Jack in the Box World where everything's a freaking surprise. He makes his power basically is he ends up making everything. He makes stuff he makes all these like surprises happen. And it affects people throughout the city, and they start getting worse and worse till they start getting worse and worse until they start getting deadly, and they actually start almost just about hurting people throughout the city. And when he does this, he ends up affecting the Zenkaiger. He ends up shooting their Gatlingers and making it so he put like a spring flower in it, and they can't close it. So they can't use any gears, and to one point they couldn't even transform, and it won't close. Like they try to close it won't close because that spring is on there. So yeah, so also they end up we see that Zox and Flint, they end up coming up with their own plan to lure out Heikaiser, to basically end up capturing Heikaiser and stuff like that. And they ended up capturing Jack in the Box World, and Surprise World. And I hated this thing. I hated this thing's freaking voice. His voice was so annoying. No shade to the voice actor of this Monster of the Week, but this thing was so freaking annoying. But we ended up they ended up trying to basically interrogate him, trying to basically hold him hostage, trying to get him to call Heikaiser. And while he's call Heikaiser and stuff like that, even though before this we see that Zox had basically promised not to destroy or really hurt Heikaiser, since everybody now knows that Heikaiser is Kaito's dad. So throughout that they're trying, while they're interrogating him, trying to capture him, we see that Bar Shatara actually gets a lot involved in this episode as well. He's involved a lot, basically because the whole Toji Tendo stuff and sending out Monster of the Week are basically his thing. They're not really Ichidu's thing. Ichidu's like a whole different department. But we see that Baro Shatara gets involved in this episode. We actually see him fight Kaiser, and and we see that Zoss basically gets his butt whooped. And yeah, so while they've captured Jack in the Box World, they're interrogating him, trying to get him to call Heikaiser, and he's like, I can't call Heikaiser because I don't have the authority to like do that. And and he's right because Hakaiser is under Ichiru's command. So if Hakaiser don't come out, that's because Ichiru didn't tell him to come out. So yeah, so he ended up but we see that Bar Shitara ends up telling Surprise World to basically let loose, and his face actually opens up and becomes like this evil clown looking face. And now he's Jack in the Box World, and now he's like, when his face is transformed to this, all his surprises, yeah, they're super deadly now. They'll be, and we see Flint and the twins and Zox running throughout this abandoned warehouse, because nothing good ever happens in an abandoned warehouse. And they end up trying to run through the place, and all these random things are attacking. There's buzzsaws and knives everywhere. There was a giant wrecking ball at one point. Fire shooting out of the ground. Like, this was a freaking hell house. And we see that they end up getting intercepted by Bar Shitara, and Flint can't transform. I mean, not Flint. Zox cannot transform because he ends up using. We see that Jack in the Box World ended up using his power on his Gatlinger, and now he can't transform. So now he's fighting Bokuwas. No, he's fighting Bar Shitara by himself, and he can't do anything. We see that Flint ends up getting hurt, and she basically gets knocked out in this abandoned warehouse that they were trying to get out of there. And that's when the Zenkaiger come in, and they actually they come in and start fighting Bar Shitara and Jack in the Box World, but they actually figured out a way to be able to transform. He's like, yeah, I shot my beam at your Gatlinger, so now you guys can't transform. So what they did was they ended up putting their gears in, and they ended up taking turns holding down the latch on their Gatlinger so they can transform. And they did the same thing for Zox as well. We end up getting the battle between, it's a 2v6 fight going on with Kaiser. He was over there fighting Bar Shitara, while the rest of the crew, they're fighting Jack in the Box World. And then that's when Kaiser shows up. Kaiser actually charges up. He's fully charged. As soon as he gets fully charged up, he runs out to go help Jack in the Box World. And then Ichiru tells Stacy to go after him. So that's where Stacy comes in this episode. Stacy had a little bit more to do in this episode as well, but it was weird. And now he's having this weird, like, kind of relationship with Hakaiser, and he's thinking about what Hakaiser told him last time about, hey man, he said, hey, and he's like, hey, would you team up with me? He's like, oh yeah, why you gotta ask me that? We're already on the same team. So he has that little flashback, and he breaks his promise to grandma. He breaks his promise to Kaito's grandma by basically balling up the little card that she gave him. So they're all fighting. Everybody's fighting. The rest of the crew, our 5 Rangers end up fighting Jack in the Box World, while Kaito, is fighting Hakaiser, and Kaiser is fighting Bar Shitara. So while that's happening, we see that Stacy sees all this, and he's trying. Stacy's watching this. We see that Kaito is basically trying to get through to Hakaiser, and telling him stuff like, yo, you're my dad, and you need to break out his brainwashing and stuff like that. And Hakaiser's like, wait, I'm not your dad. I'm Hakaiser. What are you talking about? And yeah, so Stacy sees all this, and he's like, I finally got someone that's on my side. I finally got a friend. And he's like, sorry, Kaito, you can't have this. And I'm like, yo, this is my dad. I'm like, yo, this is Kaito's dad. I'm like, yo, bro, this is my dad. What are you talking about? My dad's been captured and turned into a freaking robot man for the bad guys. You don't think I'm going to try and get my dad back? Like, it really was like, it was some real stupid-ish. Because I was like, Stacy, this is my dad. Like, what are you talking about? How about you shut up and you end up joining us, and then now you got a whole freaking squad. Instead of just like stop trying to basically just teaming up with Kaiser and fighting off Kaito, and they're trying to beat him and everything. He's trying to get through to his dad, but Stacy's in the way, and then ended up we see our main four Rangers ended up destroying Jack in the Box world and destroying him. Sorry. And we see that Bar Shatara is over there actually beating the crap out of Zox over there. Even though Zox is in his Super Two Kaiser form, he's still getting rocked by Bar Shatara. And we see that they ended up. We see that after the explosion, we see that Stacy ends up getting her Kaiser out of there. He ended up pushing him through the portal, getting him out of there while shooting at Kaito. And then Kaito's like, "Oh man, he got away." I'm like, still, but Stacy though, that was freaking stupid. I'm like, yo, man, this is his dad. He actually says, he was like, "Sorry, Kaito, you can't have this on top of everything else you have." You know, talking about the episode where they ended up switching bodies and they got to experience each other's lives. And then, Kaito's super jealous. Stacy is super jealous of Kaito, how he has all these people that love him and support him and on his side and stuff. And then Stacy feels like her Kaiser can be that for him. So he's like, "No, I'm keeping him. He's my dad now." I'm like, that's stupid. That was so stupid, Stacy. But we ended up, after that, Bar Shatara, he ends up leaving as well. Leaving Zox there on the ground, and we ended up one of the Kudai Deaths, the not upgraded Kudai Deaths. He uses the Jack in the Box world gear, and we see that they hitching up into Super Zenkaiger. And while they're transforming, Kaito talks to Zox, and he's like, "Hey man, after we take this guy out, yeah, we need to talk." And then Zox is like, "What? All right, whatever." So they end up having this super funny kind of like unique fight they had, which is supposed to be based on like pranks. They pranked him kind of like one of those Japanese those Japanese game shows. That's what it kind of was like. And it was actually pretty weird and kind of pretty funny. And they end up taking out Jack in the Box world. And after that, we see Kaito, he kind of goes off on Zox, telling him that, "Hey, don't you ever do that again," and stuff like that. And he's like, we'll save him together. We're not gonna come up with all these crackpot plans to do stuff like that. And then they end up coming to an agreement, stuff like that. And yeah, but other than that, this was a great episode. This was a filler episode that turned serious. Like, this episode was like very fillery at one point, but it kind of got real serious when, like, they're fighting her Kaiser and Kaito's trying to get through to him and stuff like that, and Stacy saying that this is you can't have him and stuff like that. Like, they're fighting over her Kaiser, which seemed kind of weird, and I'm kind of weirded out that, and it's kind of weird that her Kaiser didn't like notice that. Yeah, and then the whole seriousness about with Kaito talking to Zox and stuff like that. It went from like a fillery kind of episode. Technically it wasn't a fillery episode, but it felt like one at the beginning, and then like by the time we start getting like to the end or halfway to the end, like it got kind of serious. So yeah, but other than that though, this is a fun episode. I like this episode a lot. Zenkaiger just done it again. And yeah, so what do you guys think? How you guys think Kaiser's gonna deal with this? I mean, how you think like Kaito's gonna deal with this? What do you think Stacy's gonna do now that he's trying to really protect Kaiser? And I think that we're gonna have another one-on-one fight between Stacy and Kaito again, talking about and then Stacy's gonna get to a point where he's really gonna air his feelings out finally. But yeah, so with that being said, everybody, you guys let me know down in the comment section below what you guys think about this episode. Did you like it? Did you hate it? All that good jazz. I'll see you guys next time. And remember, please subscribe. Please subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Guys, I really need this. Please, if you're seeing this video, if you made it to the end, thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys. But with that being said, everybody, make sure to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I'm going to see you guys next time. And remember, stay henshin.